Hi, everybody. This is Jack with Vacationies, and I am here from Paige. Paige was a client that we helped plan a wedding almost 2 years ago, but has become a YouTube star about planning destination weddings. So several of you have asked me, hey, Jack, can you have one of your brides on? And I thought Paige is the ultimate one. So thank you, Paige, for agreeing to be with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's go over some basic stuff. When was your wedding?
It was January of 2022, so just earlier this year.
Wow, almost married a full year. Congrats.
Thank you. I know I can't believe it. Time has flown since then.
And as I said, I think we started planning almost a year and a half ago, correct? Before
Yeah.
the wedding, I'm sorry.
Yep. I think it was right around a year prior to our actual wedding date. We reached out to you guys to kind of get things moving and see. I mean, we were going into it totally blind, so we were just hoping to get some feedback from everyone to see how we could get it put together.
Great. So where did you ultimately choose to have your destination wedding?
So we ended up choosing Dreams Playa Mujeres, and based on the feedback we saw, the reviews, some other videos that we saw, and kind of what they had to offer for destination weddings, we ended up just loving it. It felt right. It had a little bit of everything for our group coming with us, our guests, and we luckily loved it. It ended up being awesome for us and a
Great.
great choice.
So as I recall, we probably had a list of resorts that I put together with you, right? And then
Yeah.
you kind of looked through those resorts. Do you remember any of the other resorts that we looked at?
Not specifically, but I know we looked hard at a few, either in that area or more in the main strip of Cancun. And I just remember we were really looking at what each one had to offer. And based on what you guys had to say about Dreams, we really took that into play there. And saw a couple other weddings that had happened at Dreams and just felt like that one was the right one. But I can't even, it's all a blur. All the other ones were a blur. Once we found Dreams, I was like, this is it. This is
Go
it.
forward. Yeah. So, so when we were working with Dreams, you worked with us. We helped you with the rooms. We helped you pick the resort, and then we introduced you to someone at the resort. I think at the time it was Marcella. So, how was your planning experience with Marcella? Give us some background on that. How far in advance did she start planning? What was the feedback? Was she responsive? Things of that nature.
Yeah, so of course, going into planning, we were, I don't want to say stressed, but of course, you're kind of like hoping to get the ball moving. And they let us know that our specific day of coordinator would be reaching out to us about 3 months in advance. And she actually didn't get in contact with us directly, Marcella. I think it was about 2 months. And we had reached out a few times just to make sure, things were still in line. But once we were in contact with her, things were really smooth for us. Marcella was great. She was very responsive. And definitely as we got closer to our wedding date, I could tell it was, definitely more on her radar to make sure we had everything in place. And then again, as we got closer, things were just getting put together and there was nothing to stress about, even though it's hard not to, of course, when you feel like it's so close.
Right.
Um, but she really took us under her wing and was responsive and very helpful on any questions we had about the Excel sheet we had to fill out and all that. So she was
And
great.
most of the planning was done by email, Zoom calls, or how did she communicate? Was she responsive? Or, in some cases, I hear from brides that it's like weeks go by and they don't hear from the planners and they're calling me, asking me to call someone and go, hey, knock, knock.
Well, and again, that first when you hear 3 months, you're expecting it kind of that day, right? Right, 3 months before. I know we were, so I was a little bit stressed, and Jake, my husband, was not. He was like, "It's totally fine, don't worry." And then we heard from Marcella eventually through email, and we kind of just kept the email flow going. I don't think we actually spoke to her on the phone until about a week before our wedding date. Because it was just smooth for us for email. I emailed her with all my little questions, big or small, and she always responded. So I felt the email communication was great. And again, it's just getting over that little hurdle where you kind of think you're forgotten about, and then when they finally do, you're on their radar for weddings. And pretty soon to our wedding date, I believe it was 2 days prior to our wedding day.
And
The
is
first
that something you would advise? Because it's a struggle I have with brides is they all want to get there the day before. And I'm constantly saying, no, 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 please get there 2 to 3 days. You're going to
Yeah.
have meetings. Plus, you want to relax before your family and guests get there and stress you out. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we arrived well, maybe we were technically 2 days. It was like the night before the third day, you know, like almost 3, but pretty much 2. And we actually had a good handful of our guests had gotten there the day before us, which was kind of interesting. Like you kind of have a little fear of missing out, but then you
Right.
arrive. It was kind of nice to have everybody there waiting for us. But that I definitely recommend at least 2 days before, because that next day we got to check out the resort and kind of settle in and get the feel for everything. And then on the following day, the second full day we were there, that's when we met up with Marcella and had our kind of planning meeting. You meet up with her and you go over all of the small details to make sure she has everything that she needs and that we're feeling good about everything. And after that meeting, we felt great. So
What about Plan B? Did she talk to you about that? Because everybody's always worried about, oh my, what happens if it rains or there's a hurricane?
yeah, I was worried about that because there definitely was a couple of not total rainy days. I think we had one that was pretty rainy. So you just never know, right? You never know. I knew that there was a plan B mentioned in our package. But to be honest, as we got closer and we knew that the weather on our exact wedding day was looking pretty good, I don't even think we discussed it too much in depth, but I know she would have been awesome if we had to take that route and plan for
So
rain.
tell us about the locations you chose and the events and things like that you did.
Yeah, so we chose to do our rehearsal dinner, which was kind of funny because we didn't really do like an actual rehearsal of the wedding. We did like a little run through, but nothing crazy. And that was great. I was a little nervous for that just because we didn't put a ton of extra funds into the rehearsal dinner, and you kind of just don't know what it's going to be like. So we just did a few like table centerpieces. We didn't even get an audio system or anything like that, and it was totally fine. We had 50 guests. And we had a few speeches go on that night. And it was totally great. I loved it. It was super special and kind of laid back, but awesome. The food was great. And then the wedding day, we had it on the beach. We did a beach ceremony and a beach reception, and we loved it. We loved both of those. We
A
definitely played
beautiful, beautiful beach, right? I mean, just white sand and the turquoise water. It's like, how could you go wrong?
We loved it. Definitely like windy, definitely planned for wind. I mean, you kind of know that going into the beach, but to have our ceremony there and then go into the cocktail hour that was on the beach and then have the reception right there next to it, it was perfect for us. I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. But there were definitely many beautiful locations that you can choose, whether it's the gazebo. We saw many weddings being held at all of those areas, but we loved the beach. It was great. Beautiful
Great.
beach.
Now, what about anything extra specials? I mean, any cool stuff you did that you would advise people to do or even not to do that you may have spent money on?
Yeah, so we played around with some bigger extras, keeping in mind that we were on the beach. You don't really know what that's going to look like, right? So the one big thing that we toggled with for a while was the dance floor, because it is a bigger investment, right? But you
Right.
are going to be on the sand. And I won't lie to you, we actually I don't think we had it in our plan for quite a while until we got pretty close. And then we decided to go for it. Not a huge one, but just something to have out there for dancing. And I 100% recommend doing that if you are going to be on the sand, right? It
Yeah.
was great. It definitely was so much nicer to dance on a dance floor instead of the sand. So I would definitely recommend that. Something else that we invested in was the fairy light tent. I always loved the way that looked. So that was something that I would not sacrifice. I would have paid anything for that just because I feel like on the beach for the reception, that's beautiful.
You, as I recall, did the Beyond Memorable, which is an amazing package, but you were able to customize from within that, correct?
Yeah, we chose kind of a like a genre of food you wanted for both the rehearsal dinner and the wedding night. I won't even lie to you. I can't remember which one we did for what. I know one of them was like a Mexican buffet. And one thing we were so grateful for was both the menus that we had chosen were awesome. We loved all the food and found the resort food's great, but we found that the buffets they offered were way better, like even more yummy than the actual resort food, which was kind of a nice
A
surprise.
lot of great options too. In terms of your favorite part, what was your favorite part of your wedding?
I, for me, it was having all of our special people there on a vacation with us, just the overall idea of a destination wedding. Jake and I both, my husband and I both think back to that week repeatedly, and we just are so grateful that we were able to go to Mexico with all of our special people from both sides and have them mingle. And it just was smooth. There was truly nothing on my end as the bride to stress about. I definitely went in. I think it's impossible to not go into anything like that without some stress, but it truly was so smooth. Everything was taken care of. Again, Marcella was amazing. We absolutely adored her and appreciated everything she did for us. And it was just a blast. It was so fun. We had a great time.
Right. And selfishly from our side, you had my best team member, my wife, of course, helping you and your guests plan their stays and,
We sure
let
did.
everybody had a great time. And how about your favorite restaurant at the resort, if you remember? If people are thinking about Dreams, there's a restaurant that they have to make sure to go to. Mine's
It
the
was,
ice cream shop. So,
oh yeah, okay.
yeah.
We definitely were there quite a bit. The ice cream shop, and we went to the hibachi. I can't remember what it's called, but the hibachi restaurant, we were there twice.
What was
Can't
the feedback you got from your friends that attended that maybe had never been to an all-inclusive resort or a destination wedding? Were they just blown away and loved the experience?
Yes, definitely. From going into the planning of it, with all the brochures that we sent on from you and Sharon, those were so helpful for them to kind of see how this was going to go. Like, here's your options, and of course they would come to us with questions, and we would forward those on to you guys if we didn't know the answers. But they were so impressed with how smooth everything was set up and that everything was coordinated coming into it. I mean, some of these people some of our guests hadn't even been to like Mexico in general,
I
or
know
like,
some of them last minute didn't have passports because I remember there was some comments of stuff going on if people thought they were going to go to your wedding with a driver's license and
yeah,
started having to talk to people about expediting passports. So, um,
there's our group in a nutshell. So
yeah, but everybody made it.
everybody made
Um,
it.
is there anything that you would change if you would do it again?
The only thing, this is a funny question. I've actually gotten this question quite a bit since our trip. The only thing I would say, for us, our experience specifically was we had a weird scenario because a lot of our family left the day after our wedding, like my immediate family. So I wish I would have gone out and stayed a little bit later out, like the night before the wedding or that first night we were there. I kind of was trying to like play it safe to not be absolutely exhausted the next day, but I definitely missed out on some great, I don't want to say party nights, but my family is not a huge party family and they were out there with the crowd. So I definitely wish I would have like kind of scheduled one night for me to go out, just not overdo it, but just a little bit longer, to make sure I didn't miss anything.
For
Yeah.
exactly the reason you mentioned is you want to enjoy that day, relive it with everybody at the swim up pool bar or at breakfast, not with a hangover and people not missing their flights. Um, so I really tell people, look, you're going that distance, just stay another day, make it 4 or 5 days because you get to hang out with everybody and just enjoy it versus just bing, bam, boom for a wedding, right? It's not like
I
it's at home.
completely agree. I completely agree. It was hard to have, especially some of the closer people, like I mentioned, my immediate family leaving the next day, because that was when I was like, okay, I'm
Right.
ready to have fun. And the wedding's done, so you kind of let loose a little bit differently. Not crazy, but you just
You can
feel
chill.
more,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The stress is
more,
done. Now we can really enjoy ourselves. I mean, I
yeah,
think you said something that's really important. I tell people, look, a destination wedding, the ceremony is important, but the real important thing of the destination wedding is being with all these people you care about, hanging out. And we know it's successful when we're ever at a wedding and we see our clients sitting at the swim up pool bar or in a circle on the beach or playing volleyball. And that's what it's all about. It's the
yeah,
people that are attending that care and love you and you love and you've invited and just socializing because the likelihood of you going on vacation with 50 of your closest friends and family again may not happen other
right.
than seeing a trend with COVID of people getting home and going, everybody wants us to plan a 1 year anniversary trip.
Yeah.
So, which is
I
great. I don't know if it'll happen, but we have a couple of them booked already. So we'll see.
Gosh, I love that. I threw that out. I was like, everybody here, same spot next year.
Right.
Let's do it. Gosh, it was a dream come true. I would relive it any day. It was a
That's the
blast.
key. A dream come true and you want to relive it. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like A, we picked the perfect resort. B, Marcella and the team did an amazing job. And C, you had a great group of friends and family with you, really enjoying it, making the special day even more special.
Yeah, we sure did. It was awesome.